My great-grandfather founded the Johnson & Johnson pharmaceutical company. I was born rich, my father was born rich, and my grandfather was born rich. And a few years ago, I broke a cardinal rule amongst the wealthy. I started to talk about social class. And my way of doing that was to make a film about 10 kids from vastly wealthy families, and I included myself. The title of the film was very predictably Born Rich. And for the last year, I've been working on a new documentary, a documentary about the unequal distribution of wealth in America, and the favored few Americans who own roughly 40% of the country. I made this film about rich kids, and it really bothered a lot of people in my community. And a lot of my friends got really mad at me for it, and my father had always told me from an early age never to talk about money. I included my dad in my documentary against his wishes, and that he was so mad at me that we hadn't talked in months. And we hadn't spoken since the opening of the film, which was months and months ago, and I didn't really know what to do about it. And I even went one step further, and I told him that the reason why I was there was that I was making this other movie, and I wanted my father to be in that film too, but he was so pissed off at me that we weren't talking, and he refused to, so I couldn't even bring up the subject. Why haven't we talked recently? And he said, you know what, Jamie, you shouldn't have made that movie. You did the wrong thing. And I didn't want to be in it. And I said, well, you know, Dad, I really actually thought it was important, and it got a fairly good response, and you should probably know I'm making another one, and it's about a similar subject. And he said, you just don't get it, Jamie. You just don't understand. There's a reason why rich people don't talk about money. There's a reason why it's unspoken. And I said, okay, fine. I'm totally open to that. What is the reason? Just tell me. I've been curious about this, and I wanted to talk to you about this. And he said, you just don't know. And I thought, no, I don't. You know, tell me. And he was kind of serious, and he's like, I can't. And we were sitting in his study, and at that point, we're just silent for a while. And then he walks over to a bookshelf, and he grabs something, and he comes back, and he hands it to me. And I'm thinking, what is this? And I grab it, and I look down, and it's a VHS tape. And there's a date on it. It doesn't say anything else. It's just a date, and it says 1972. And I'm thinking, what is this? But at that moment, things were kind of intense. And it was almost one of those things where it was like, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. I'd wanted to relate to my father in a real way, and all of a sudden we were, but it was like new for us, so it was almost too much. Neither of us could really handle it. We didn't know what to say. And the conversation didn't really resolve itself. He just kind of walked out of the room, and I sat there with this tape, and we were both a little bugged out. And later that night, you know, I decided to watch the movie. And I put it into the VCR, and I start watching it. And it's a documentary film. And it's a film that's critical of Johnson & Johnson's involvement in South Africa under apartheid. And I'm thinking, what is this? And I watch the movie to the end, and the credits start rolling, and it says, producer, James L. Johnson. And part of me wanted to run upstairs, he'd gone to sleep at that moment, and wake him up and ask him and say, what is this? What happened? But I didn't. I waited till the next time we saw each other. And I brought it up, and I said, hey, I saw the film. I saw your name in the credits. What's the story? What happened? And he told me about it. He told me that when he was a young man, he'd made a documentary, unbeknownst to his family, that was very critical of Johnson & Johnson's involvement in South Africa under apartheid. And he told me that because of the bad press, the tape had gotten back around to the people at Johnson & Johnson, and the executives had seen his name in the credits just as I did. And the CEO called him up and called him into the company to reprimand him. And he did. He told my father, I think you're wrong. I think you did the wrong thing, Jim. We don't know what you were thinking about. And he said to my dad,
life isn't going to go well for you if you keep working against the world that you're a part of.
And my father had a choice to make at that point in his life. And he chose to change. And for my whole life, I've known a father who's never worked against the world that he's a part of. And in some ways, that's the ultimate benefit of being really rich. You can always take the path of least resistance and have a very smooth life. And I think in some ways my father did. And as a result of that, he lived a bit of a limited life. But, you know, now I have his example. And thanks to his example, I don't have to live my life that way.